Efendim öncelikle hepinize
I would like to thank you both for your patience, as well as I would also like to apologize for keeping you waiting. The minister attended late, and that's why the program was delayed. That's why we had this disruption. The theme of the session can be seen on the screen. How do we ensure an efficient life cycle of wind turbines once the commercial process is completed, and adapting to new technologies and particularly field applications? We've got speakers from companies who are going to expand our horizons and who are going to talk to us about the situation we're currently in. To begin with, I would like to introduce our guests to you through themselves. They will introduce themselves. Let's start with Mr. Ferit. Hi everyone, my name is Ferit Yeşilay. Since 2012, I have been working with Nordex, and I have assumed various positions at the service department, and I'm the service director for Turkey and the Middle East. And sorry for the delay, and hopefully this session will be interesting for you. Thank you, Mr. Ferit. Mr. Halil, the microphone is turned off. The gentleman is not audible. The microphone is turned off. My name is Halil Durutürk. I'm an electric engineer. I work with Enercon for 25 years, and I have worked in various positions, and I have witnessed different phases of the industry. With the investors, we worked together, which brought us many advantages. And the adaptation of our structure in these fluctuations and changes was an opportunity for us. So this is how I'm continuing my activities at Enercon. Welcome, sir. My name is Cenk Öztürk. I am the wind farms director at Exim Holding. Since 2012, I work for Exim. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and sorry for the delay. And I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you very much, Mr. Cenk. Thank you. My name is Koray Demirer. I work with Demir Enerji since 2012. After assuming various positions, I am the power plant maintenance and operations director since 2018. Mr. Oktay, thank you for inviting me and for being here. Welcome. My name is Oktay Ertuğrul. I work with Zorlu Energy, and I'm the group manager of hydroelectricity, thermal, and wind farms. I work at Zorlu Energy since 2011. I have worked with many domestic and international projects. We are working on renewable energy these days, and I hope you will find the session useful and beneficial. Thank you. We have had various meetings with the speakers. From investors, generators, operators, as well as the single generator, and the service and operations are delivered by Mr. Oktay Ertuğrul, in line with the flow we have determined up front. After informing you about the companies, the current capabilities and capacities of the companies, as well as the service and maintenance, as well as other components in the industries and the relevant activities, we will be listening to all of this from the most experienced and independent company, Mr. Oktay. So if it's okay, let us begin with you. As you know, Zorlu Energy, as everyone knows, let's listen to where you stand in the industry, your capabilities, and you're a standalone independent investor. So what kind of activities you do in the turbines? So if you can share all of these with our audience and with us, we will be happy to listen to you. Thank you, Mr. Ali. And I would like to thank you for your contributions. It's a very intensive program, and you have a very busy schedule, and this is a great organization. And thank you. This is the most comprehensive and one of the best organizations I have seen recently. Now, let me introduce to you our Zorlu Energy Group, and then I will talk to you about what we do and the new developments. To begin with, our company, when you look at the portfolio of our company, our wind plants are in Osmaniye, Turkey, and Pakistan, 191 megawatts, and we have obtained the additional capacities, and we are working on them. Rize, Erzincan, Erzurum, Kars, Tunceli, and Tokat. There are a total of 120 megawatts of hydroelectricity plants. There is 305 Denizli and Manisa geothermal plants, and in Denizli, Sarayköy, there is a very recent plant. It's a local maintenance, service, and repair center that we have founded 2 years ago, and I will be introducing them to you in our slides. And at the same time, Zorlu Energy is not working on the generation side, but also on the distribution side. On the electricity, we've got Eskişehir, Afyon, Kütahya, Bilecik, Uşak. In 5 provinces, we've got energy distribution activities. In Edirne, Kırklareli, Tekirdağ, Gaziantep, and Kilis, there are natural gas distribution services. And also there's electricity trade and supply services. And recently, we are celebrating the 5th year. You see ZES and electric brands and electric vehicles, charging stations, and they are being operated, and they are delivering services as electric overseas. And we've got research and development activities, and the research and development colleagues in our group are working in a very efficient manner and fast manner, and they are being supported by TÜBİTAK and Horizon in 20 different countries. They're working on 100. I'm sorry, the interpreter got distracted because people are talking outside. There's G Smart, G Pro, Smart Wind, and Smart PDM and Charge Drivers are some of the projects that we have in our scope. And in our plants, if we are to work for wind plants, in our journey that began with Gökçedağ wind power plant, we covered a lot of distance. In 2009, we had 135 megawatts. We operate and maintain it. And in this sense, we didn't have any long-term contracts. It was just, with the exception of a 2-year warranty service. And based on our experiences from natural gas plants and the know-how of our teams, and with their experiences, both Osmaniye and the Pakistan wind farms were maintained and operated by us independently, which we continue to do so. And I would like to give you some anecdotal information. In Pakistan, the first wind farm investment was built and implemented by us, and then there were many wind investments after us. And Zorlu O&M capabilities, operation and maintenance company, offers complete maintenance and operation services in our plants, and this is not only for wind. Hydroelectricity, thermic, and geothermal plants are covered by us. So in our group, there is a very comprehensive know-how within our group, and we've got experienced technicians, engineers, analysts, and design engineers, which make us stronger in the industry. And right now, currently, because we're going to talk about wind farms, I would like to give you examples about wind farms. And in our plants, the wind farm investors will know about it. Turbines need to be analyzed well. Their availabilities need to be high. And the planned and unplanned maintenance, particularly, how do you correspond it to non-wind times? Of course, the unplanned you can't, but the planned ones you can correspond to lower generation periods to increase generation. And SCADA and CMS systems, they need to be monitored well, which increase efficiency. And spare parts stock, particularly in the logistics sense, this is very important and useful. And we have a very strong spare parts stock and network with our suppliers. And as an independent maintenance and investor, we have a team that is great. And most recently, I will talk about turbines, the gearboxes and the main belts. We do it with our own means, with local means, how we can repair them, and indeed their benefits. I will be talking about them. Mr. Oktay, if you wish, let's keep this for the second round. So you will have rested a bit, and we have an important generator, the service director of Enercon. He would like to continue with him. So from one investor to a generator representative, as Enercon, your current situation in the industry, from your service and maintenance capabilities, as well as what you do. Can you talk about it as Enercon and the industry in general? We will be more than happy. Thank you. It's going to be displayed soon. I'm waiting for the presentation to be populated. Let me start while the presentation is coming. Enercon was founded in 1984, and the first investment was done in 1998 with Demirel at the Alaçatı wind farms. And Mr. Ali, in the speeches that we had with you, when we were looking at what kind of a structure we would explain, the service structure is very simple, and it's a non-complicated structure, and our goal was very clear. To begin with, it was occupational health and safety, and compliance with local legislation is very important, and this is applicable for all of us. Other than that, your company has a mission. You need to act in line with it about occupational safety, about quality, and other values. These are of critical importance for you. And other than that, the investors that you work together with, fulfilling their expectations is your critical objective, because they built a wind farm, they've got a financial expectation, and to be able to make that expectation a reality, the manpower that they need and the material flow needs to be fulfilled properly. And the targets are very simple. We've got tools and equipments and assets that we use for this. So concept-wise, that's very simple. So you need to have quantity and quality-wise your personnel, both the white collars, they need to be conversant with what they do. And also the field staff members, the ones that are working in turbines, they need to be active and they need to be solution-oriented. It's a sine qua non for us. And the other issue is that your material needs to be at the right time, at the right place, and the adequate numbers, because it's because this brings about a financial issue. So your planning is critical in material production. And once you have these two assets, your procedures need to be clear-cut. Who is going to do what and where? The areas of responsibility need to be well-defined. and you need to have a know-how support behind you, and having an investor that can provide technical support when need be complements the structure. So when you provide this, then you can proceed with such a structure. And during the course of these 2.5 decades, we had different, we were trying to keep the structure at a balance at all times. And in Turkey, initially, it was our service activities started in the Aegean region to begin with, and close to the wind farms, we build a service team. There's an engineer that is in charge, and they need to have a depot where they are located. And each wind farm that is built, this is a core team that is a sine qua non for them. And the number of employees and the existing materials related activities in depot, I want to be interactive. Sorry for interrupting. The know-how, this is a reflection of the know-how that you mentioned, and it's a planning, and you have created a service network based on your experiences. Absolutely. The two assets that I have mentioned and the reflection on the field is very important to be able to do it in an effective way, in line with the expectations of the investors, and also in the structure that is distributed to regions. A challenging factor, as we have discussed, is the cultural differences, because we started in the Aegean region, and particularly in the YEK 3 projects, that is the renewable energy source areas, we had to move on to other regions, and this is staffing and materials that is done accordingly. And in a growing team, training plays a very important role. The adequate number of trainings need to be given regularly, both for the investors as well as the companies that you're partnering with, are necessary. And in the growing structure, each and every department you're in charge of has a separate and significant effect and impact. We've got close to 100 vehicles, and the coordination of these vehicles and the coordination of that fleet needs to be a separate branch of activity altogether, to prevent accidents and whatnot. So we built a second-level support accordingly in the Izmir headquarters, and the second-level support that we built, it receives the know-how and the data from field, and they blend it with the Germany headquarters know-how and conveys it to the field. And our training department is carrying out its activities at Izmir, Chile, and in Nordex, where we have great relations with, we are neighbors with Nordex at Izmir, Chile, where we are. And in these activities, I want to show you this slide. We are working with close to 50 different investors. And other than the cultural differences, in our relations with investors, we work separately, and there's a need to work on a boutique level. There are also global investors, or if there's a small energy requirement, and the global ones and the small ones that only need it for their factories, their expectations are different. So we need to develop interim solutions. We have a system called, it's a web-based service info portal. Let's keep that for the second round, but the human resources, know-how, store materials, stock and technology were what you discussed. And when we look at the current structure, the figures are very infrastructure and very, very impressive. And you worked on the infrastructure, and recently you're going to make updates and you're going to make a new design. Yeah, I'm going to say that for the second part. And after our generator, we have an investor, Mr. Cenk is among us, representing Exim Energy. And as you all know, they have an important capacity, and both the generator companies and their infrastructures, their institutionalization activities have brought about an organization. So the widest licensed wind farm project is yours. So can you explain to us your evolution since the year 2000 and what you do internally? Can you please share with us? Yes, if you want.
Exim Holding.
We as Exim Holding and our main working areas are electricity distribution, venture, renewable energies. These are our main areas of expertise, and we are active in these areas. So electricity distribution has been done by Dicle Electric, and this is a subsidiary of our holding company. And on the energy production side, we see that in the beginning of the 2010s, our company has made a strategic decision to go into the way of becoming a global player in renewable energy production. And we have also the food industry, and Sinangil flour and Arpagil is our products which we are producing in our holding. So in energy production, you can see on this map our portfolio. We have over 2,327 megawatts, and these are our operational plants and plants which are still in development. So this is the endpoint we have reached right now. In the following 5 years, we are planning to realize this 2,327 megawatts in full. We have now in Turkey and abroad an energy production portfolio, and this consists of wind parks and hydroelectric dams, and we have also a biodiesel power plant. We started as a research and development project, and we are still working on it, and we have a BAS power plant of 5 megawatts. So we have, like I said, an 187 megawatts project in Viranşehir, which is a solar plant, and we have already started to have additional investment into our existing projects. And abroad we have also a project. In the Ukraine we have a wind energy project of 67 megawatts. We are still continuing it, but because of the war in Ukraine, we had to put it on hold. We already started construction, and we developed for 5 to 6 months before the war broke out, and now we are on hold. So in the first available time, we will be back in the Ukraine and are planning to get our power plant there operational. Our license project, especially projects which include also storage, we have a portfolio of 1,154 megawatts. And with hybrids and with additional capacities, so this is a very impressive map you are showing us, and you are also reading those numbers, and this is important. And in the second part, maybe we can do the following. After your brief introduction, maybe you can tell us something about the maintenance and about your operational work, and this is for the second round. So when we look at our map, we see that we are in a lot of parts of Turkey. So the light blue areas are where we are as Exim Energy. And we want to be a global brand, so we want to penetrate the market in Europe and in the United States, and we are working also with partners there. We don't want to limit ourselves as only in Turkey and want to become a global company, and this is something we want to do in short term. Well, this is also important for us because when we talked with the minister, we talked about human resources and service exports. And last week we had also meetings in Brussels with the European Commission, and the energy representative of the European Commission said that to realize their projects, that they have high expectations when it comes to human resources from Turkey. So instead of going to the Far East like China, they would like to take the service providers and the human resources from Turkey. And you as Exim Energy want to go global, and maybe you can use your experience here in Turkey on a global scale. So this would be very important for our sector and for us in general. Yes, I want to add something else. Our human resources Turkey is, and this counts for all companies, is very educated and well-versed. And this was also the thinking behind our introduction into Ukraine, because we wanted to bring our experience and know-how there and with the Turkish human resources. Yes, exactly. That's also what I mean. So even the regional differences lead to major differences in general. So, Ferit Bey, I think you want to talk about Nordex, about your company. We all know Nordex. The brand is on the forefront in the sector. But you have all the different supply chain. Your human resources is different. And on global scale, as far as I know, you have a lot of human resources also in the United States and northern countries. So let's make advantage of your experience here. Yes, I'm waiting for the presentation to load. Yes, nobody wanted to take away the map of SM Energy. Of course, we will grow together. That's correct, yes. Yes, we have investors here. We have energy generators here, and all of the work we are doing is done in form of cooperations. And Erol Bey is also here amongst us. He's one of the pioneers in the industry, and it's not easy to talk in front of him because he knows so much. But we're very glad to have him here, and all of our stakeholders here are on a steady road where we are going to only 12 gigawatts, and everybody played their part. So I would like to thank you again, Mr. Raja. Yes, I would like to welcome you as well. Nordex Turkey has started to build here wind turbines after the generation beta, and our portfolio in Turkey, 1/3 of the generators here in Turkey is the gamma generation, and there is of course a lot of change. So each year we are changing models for the energy generators, but our gamma series or generation gamma is very long living. So for Delta, we started using generation Delta for the production over 3 megawatts, and we have the Delta 4 and Delta 4000 generations for 5 megawatt and above. So the Delta 3K turbines we are selling in certain areas, certain markets, but Turkey is a market which tends to work with the newest generations, so we are going to build the 6X generation. So Nordex started in 2008 with the Yunda. So 2009, Nordex Energy AŞ is founded in Turkey. So these are our important milestones. 2016, we have the merger between Nordex Acciona, and this is very important on a global scale, not in specifically for Turkey. And then we started with the production of in Turkey. We started production of first local blades in Turkey 2014. And 2020 was for a record year for us as well as other players in the industry, because 21 projects got accepted by the ministries, and we have 1,100 turbines with 312 personnel in service, and we have a service portfolio in 3.6. So we are expecting this number to grow up until the end of 2023. And when I joined the industry, we had in Amasya wind energy park of our previous speaker, and we want to be having the United States and France, in Ukraine, in the Netherlands, and in Finland. We have actively working on maintenance and support services, where our personnel with the existing know-how goes there, and we are in this situation where we can export our know-how. This doesn't only count for Nordex, but for the whole industry, because we have a lot of know-how accumulated in Turkey. Maybe we should add the following. Before, we had commissioners which came from abroad to Turkey, and now we have technicians, foreign technicians, which are trained here in Turkey and work in the Turkish fields and go to their respective countries. So this is a development. Yes, what Ferit Bey meant, there is a training center in Nordex, but we will talk about it in the second round. So if you don't want to add something else, maybe one more slide before we pass on to the next speaker. So we have 3.6 gigawatts of 1,100 turbines. We are servicing 7 parts of Turkey, and this means we have a large service network, which leads to operational challenges, but it leads also to a lot of opportunities. Like all of the players in the industry, we were concentrated on the western part of Turkey, but now we are building also in eastern Anatolia and in the central Anatolian region. We try to be also present there. Thank you so much. So I want to give the word to Mr. Koray. So maybe this is not easy for you to speak here in front of the pioneers of our industry, but don't hesitate, we need young blood as well here. So, after 1996, Demirer Energy has made itself on its way, and Erol Bey paved the way, and you as the second generation are responsible as a director of the service and maintenance, and you have your fleet who are working on maintenance, so we have the numbers in regards of your service. Yes, hello. We built the first wind park of Turkey in 1998, and we built Bores, which had the first national tower. It doesn't belong to us anymore, but it was the first nationally produced in tower. So we started in cooperation with Enercon to give services. Can you hear me well? As you can see from our investments, for 3 years we had to send these blades to abroad because the Turkish legislation was not fast, but we thought it would be fast enough, so we started building these blades, but the legislation didn't change, so we had to export those blades. So we have 3 power plants operational, and we are doing maintenance for 8 power plants. So we have a solar energy project of 200 megawatts, and these are in accordance to the legislation of hybrid systems be implemented. And with the existing 8, we are servicing ourselves since 2018. And these power plants were bought. And the reason why is 545 megawatts of installed energy, and we have 354 wind turbines. So the service, we have to service our own, how to rephrase it. When you think of a kitchen in your plant, for example, if you have a large number of employees, of course it makes sense to have your own kitchen. But if it's a small number, you have to buy it from a third party, which makes much more sense. So there are some rules, similar rules also here. So I give you a certain amount of calories, and we didn't have any other regulation outside of these calorie numbers. So we started to build our own restaurants, our own kitchen, and started building our own turbines. Before we started, we were hesitant, but when we started, then we saw that this isn't an easy task, because yes, buying the service from a third party is much easier, right? Yes. We have 30 personnel which are responsible for maintenance, and we are servicing 230 turbines, so 2/3 of our turbines. But the turbines we took over were old ones, so these have a capacity of 800 and 900 megawatts. So and the maintenance agreements are finished, and we are taking new ones. So the smaller turbines are maintained in a shorter period of time. So we take new ones, and so the maintenance factors were 99.2, so of customer satisfaction. So it's not bad, but we wanted to do our own maintenance, so we bought these turbines. Yes, a lot of economical No, we wanted to have more control on the turbines. Like I said, when you have a plant, when you are working there, when you have workers there, and of course you have to have your own kitchen because it makes much more sense then. So we wanted to build this maintenance team to have more flexibility. So what I understand is you started 1998, and with the know-how, with the bleeding edge technology, and with the human resources, you reached a certain level of maturity in the industry, and you wanted to make some of these services yourself, like maintenance, for example. Yes, the material and the carts we used for the repair, we can do this also in-house. The mechanical part can we also do, but we have the bearings, for example, generators.
The carbon emissions release, and there are certain components When it comes to the repair of it in its own facilities, as we can see in the press, Mr. Oktay, Zorlu Energy have had significant collaborations. Yeah, we are in close contact with them, and there is a situation that, to be frank, our turbines, even though the oldest is 25 years old, they didn't complete their mechanical lives, and because they didn't complete it, such repairs are needed only in the blades, and we are waiting for it for the beds, and there are blade company representatives, different companies representatives. If you allow, now that it's time, I would like to go back to Mr. Oktay in the newly and recently opened the ones with the and your conditional structures. If you can inform us, because it's about bearings. If it's possible, I would like to see the speakers as well. How far ago did you plan those activities, that plant? Our preparation phase began 3 years ago in the main equipment repairs, but along with the pandemic, it was accelerated, I can tell you that, because the pandemic caused many firsts. And along with the pandemic, the local repairs and renewal processes are accelerated. And because we do the independent service, because we don't have any contracts, certain improvements were already being done on the field, but together with the pandemic, this was much more in the forefront. And in this sense, in Denizli Sarayköy, as well as there are geothermal plants too. In Sarayköy, there is a 750 square meter indoor area, 3,000 square meters of utilization area, and even in the year 2024, there's 1,000 square meters of indoors area of workshop is being planned. So our repairs there are being done at a professional level. And the first repairs, we looked for a place to do them where we can do it within our own premises, we said. And the Denizli geothermal plant, there is one steam turbine area that we used. It was for the Proklet repair. But then we saw that it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything that we couldn't do. And we had a trained staff member portfolio. So therefore, in 2020, the workshop in Denizli became functional. And our colleagues are working day and night for 5 gearboxes and 5 main beds, and they actively make it functional. And now for over 2 years, we are operating them without facing any problems. Can you provide warranties for a certain period of time? Yes, we do provide warranties, because it will be clearer in the minds of the attendees. Well, I wanted to just ask on their behalf. Yeah, we stand behind our repairs because all the standards are being complied with, and our colleagues have the necessary certification. And with the colleagues that we have with Schaeffer, both bearing treatments, repairs, and engineering-wise, we are in close contact with them. And we've got many local resources are not being used adequately, as we have seen. And indeed, in the country, the resources that can do it and the engineering power is in place. But what matters is to be able to implement this. So as Zorlu Energy, we have demonstrated that well, and we can actively do our own repairs and how we can support the sector. Both these conferences, and thanks to these conferences, we exchange views and ideas with them. So in Europe, there are turbines that are older than 35 years old. So what did they do there? Mr. Korai's turbines are the oldest here. So what they are doing, what kind of plans they have, we exchange ideas with them and we talk about what kind of a cooperation and collaboration we can develop with them. We have been listening to it for 2 days and we keep listening to the targets and objectives of our ministry. We listen to many groups of CEOs to see where it's headed in wind particularly. They always keep talking about there's an increase by 13% every year. So by 2030, it will be 1 terawatts of, in the next decade, it's going to be almost 1 terawatts of turbines will be at a repairable capacity. So as a country, we need to create an infrastructure. The turbines are being getting old. The ones, the equipments, they need repair, and it is just the time to do the communication for that. There are 4,239 turbines that are installed currently, and the number of turbines that are more than 10 years old, it's almost 1,474, and 833 gearboxes, and there are over 1,400 main beds that are at repairable level or they started to be damaged. And we've got OEMs among us, and I'm sure they're looking into that about the situation of the gearboxes and the main beds. They are lucky because they don't have gearboxes. I want to say something. You shared numerical data, and at certain times, Tureb is sharing statistical reports, and we carry that a step ahead. Industry inventory report is being prepared, but there's another data source that we will implement soon. Your data, service, maintenance, consultancy, and Second Life, or that are being detached from the contract, or equipment that are in need of maintenance and repair. We are also gathering that data from the investors and the generators, and we want to offer it for the industry. It's a tough work, it's a challenging work, but this data was not in use up until now. Only with licenses and installations and commissions constituted the scope of our work. And after 2020, when we started looking at the world and that 25 years of life, under what conditions will they be completed? That data is very valuable for us. So you are the source of this data, and on behalf of the Turkish Wind Energy Association, we would like to thank you. Our sales department colleagues looked into the portfolio in Turkey. What are we investing in? Where are we headed? We wanted to see, and there's a huge portfolio ahead of us. You know, these turbines being reinstated or their lives being extended. You know, I'm going to come to that, and that is going to have a huge environmental impact as well, because the ministry says we have a net zero target for 2053. So you need to complete the infrastructure for this, and you need to set the regulations for that. And in my opinion, these resources being tapped into in the domestic level, being used in an efficient level, will greatly contribute to the net zero target. And when you look at it, the wind development across the world, similarly, all countries, particularly the EU countries, are focusing on green energy transformation. And wind and solar are indispensable. Of course, other resources are reliable and primary resources, but these secondary resources, they are endless, infinite resources, wind and solar, and they have to be used as efficiently as possible. And by 2030, the wind capacity is expected to triple, and by 2050, there's a target of quadrupling them. So that's a very that's going to be an area of research and repair for us. I don't want to exceed my time, so let me wrap up. I know that our time is limited. So this repair business, why did we go into it, and what is our purpose? Is it to benefit us or the investors or all or both of them? When we look into that, particularly during the pandemic, we saw that the logistic activities stopped. The investors or the OEMs couldn't buy spare parts. So under such conditions, because there could be a war in the future, no one would want that, but something else can happen. Logistics could be restricted. So are we ready as a country? Will we be able to use these resources as efficiently? So time savings is very important, because if you fail to buy the spare parts in a timely manner or to do your repairs in a timely manner, that resource will have blown by wasted. So local repair and maintenance or the localized resources must be maximized. So therefore, we have to carry the repairs to overseas, to Europe, like Spain. Germany and Denmark are important repair centers. So rather than carrying them back and forth, there's the carbon dioxide in the logistics or the transfer of new spare parts instead, and it's going to double the carbon dioxide release. So the environmental targets are also receiving contributions, and the biggest contribution is for the country economy. There is a research that we have done roughly, and the turbines being sent overseas and the turbine components, the gearbox and the main bed, which includes the control system, the command system lines, these being repaired overseas or the new ones being supplied and the domestic production. We made a comparison, and when you compared the repairs, there was a savings of $300 or $350 million. This is about the almost 4,000 turbines, which are going to be soon 10 years old or which are already 10 years old. There's a repair cost of $300 to $350 million of repair costs, and we can divide that by half if you do it with local resources. In addition to the environmental contribution, there are economical contributions, which is going to support the current deficit of our country. So the industry should focus on that a bit. And there's a relative, we are opting for the easier one, to replace the new one instead of repairing it, so that we won't be worried about this. And we receive these feedbacks from them, but we have to think of the fact that the resources are not endless, they are limited, and we have to be able to use them in an efficient way. So we know you need to be able to, and it's easy to use what's available. It's not easy, it's expensive, but from a physical standpoint, the way you do business, but the repair and localization-wise, we believe that this industry needs to make a decision and it needs to grow. Particularly, we discussed about this with Mr. Koray, and they do their repairs and maintenance, they do their own service work, because from time to time we talk about these and we receive feedback from them. So what cannot be done in a factory setting, the maintenances that need to be and the renovations that need to be done, we can provide all kinds of support, and we have already shared it with the sector representatives. So my last words are, the local repair center has opened in Denizli, and it is expanding right now from 750 square meters to 1,150 square meters. We've got engineering and test equipment in there, and in the repairs that we will do, those repairs will come with a warranty. Thank you for your contributions. Now there's an area that I'm curious about, and I want to go to Mr. Halil. because it was service 2.0. There is a concept that you talked about and a service detail. So this Enercon service 2.0, what is it? What is the concept and what do you have in mind? What does it contain? We'll be glad if you can share it with us. Yeah. Mr. Oktay's last verse, let me combine it with them while I'm waiting for my presentation. The turbines are getting older and the needs are differing, and the service structure that I talked and the requirements are all above and beyond them. Just like Mr. Oktay said, the main components, there are different activities that are necessary along with the age. This is applicable for the rollers, and this is applicable for the bearings and the blades. Let me move this to the presentation. We can add know-how, like we said, the issue of 2.0, and on the service side of Enercon, there is a need for innovations as it has been identified by the industry. There's a huge data that comes from the turbines, and this is not only from Turkey, from the rest of the world. This data can be made use of, and there are many different interpretation opportunities. There's a data lake, PAD system, through SCADA, through SAP. All data are collected, and this is technical data that is coming from the turbine, from external temperature. You can also include electric data, and there are people that are working with SAP, and there is the data set that they collect as well, and they are collected in a pool. So this is a digital turbine of sorts. So you can assess it digitally, and you can use the old data, and you can use it to predict what you can see in the future, in the upcoming periods. So you can create a digital twin on a turbine, but think of it, from anywhere in the world, you can collect turbines of different types and different conditions. Taiwan is a hot place, is a warm place, and the turbines have different operations. But in the Swedish project, along with that cold weather, there are different conditions, and assessing them in the same melting pot can extend and expand your projections. And they have introduced the system to make the best use of it. So through that system, performance assessments can be made, and the predictive maintenance that we have talked about with our investors is also one of these issues. Let me give you a small example. What you see in this photograph, I don't think we have a laser pointer. EP2 platform turbines. You can stand if you want. I'm fine, thank you. EP2 platform turbines, the front bearing and the rear bearing. And when we collect this, there's a temperature-related data. And the temperature data that comes from the front bearing are assessed, and the rear bearing data are assessed. And if the front bearing data have a deterioration because the temperature behaviors, if it deviates from the normal, you know that the front bearing will have a huge effect on the rear bearing. So accordingly, what you do on the front bearing and the if there's a likely, will have prevented a likely failure. This is predictive maintenance, and because that is not taken into account, the temperature in the rear bearing, it is going to be very high in July, and it can cause the turbine to be updated and it is replaced. But when you gather all this information, you can compile vibration-related information, etc. But those critical main components, you can make this assessment at every point, and when you compare it in different geographies, this is going to bring you an extra advantage. And in the upcoming periods, this is an area that we will be focusing on, with the exception of improving the service structure. Thank you. This was great information. And Mr. Cenk, as Exim Energy, technology and big data, you benefit a lot when you are managing this fleet, and you have significant interest in these. So as an investor under the technology title and for Exim Energy, what are you doing and how? Can you share it with us? I am aware of the fact that we are running out of time. We have some extra time, so please feel free to share your valuable information. We will ask for 10 more minutes. If we convert the red side into green, yeah, because the timer shows green, red. We're talking about life cycle, and when you talk about life cycle, what are we talking about the turbines? I try to picture it. It begins with the manufacturing of the turbine, and it continues with the implementation, operation phase, and operation activities continue. And subsequently, with the turbine getting old, life extension activities, as Mr. Oktay mentioned, and there are certain additions. And beyond that, with the technologies getting old, there is repowering processes are being addressed. And then, if they are not feasible for an investor, perhaps the remaining life can be assessed in another place. So secondly, it can continue its activities elsewhere, and the ones that are decommissioned, and then the recycling activities begin. And when you add efficiency on top of this, we need to address this process from different perspectives: the design of the machinery and the engineering stages. Because when you're designing the machine, the operations, the conditions that it will face, if they are designed in a healthy way and the quality standards and norms are taken into account, a turbine's life is going to be extended by that much. And there is the contractual management process. For an efficient turbine operation, a correct contract management is very important. And that's a special area that needs specialization and know-how. Yes, thank you for this warning, and it's useful to open another parenthesis here. That's a special and niche area. So if you fail to pass that stage correctly, subsequently, both during the operation phase and under conditions where there are different parameters, it is likely that you will face problems. And this is not only for the investor, but also for the producer. This might give rise to issues. When we move on to the project, there is the logistics development, and for a turbine to continue its life in an efficient way, this is one of the most important stages. And when we talk about logistics management, from the transportation of the materials, the cranes, the installation phase, that's a holistic process. If your components are not corrected in the right way, then an operator, if there is no process, it can be damaged, harmed, and even if they are not noticed, soon they will emerge at the operation stage. And the design phase of the field is important where you position the turbines, the manner of operation, they're all related with how they will work for a long time. Of course, there is the installation and commissioning. That's also one of the most important parameters, both in the wind and other industries. We have experienced it mostly, and I'm sure you've got similar experiences. Every problematic installation, every problematic commissioning will lead to a problematic operation phase. And these are not issues that you can solve in a matter of days or weeks. You know, it will extend over years. So installation and commissioning, they have a special place. And human resources, both generators, producers, and investors, all of us, and also the third-party service companies feel this as a common problem of all of us.
The more we are working with people who know what they're doing, the more our assets will be secure. Otherwise, if we have a quality problem in our human resources, that would show itself on the field, sometimes immediately, sometimes in a certain period after a certain period of time. We are counting our megawatts, so that, and we know that each and every megawatt is very important for us. So it's the same for our human resources. This is a subject we can see the connection between the megawatts, the installed megawatts, and the human resources. Yes, Ferit Bey will talk about Nordex Academy. Correct. We, as Exim Energy, are in cooperation with the manufacturing companies, and at the same time we are with our human resources inside of the whole process. We can service and maintain with our own personnel. So this shows us what kind of added value our human resources are giving to us, and the manufacturer gives us similar feedback, and that is very satisfying for us. The third part are the companies. So the more national companies we have here who are developed in their field, the more advantageous position we have, because the machines are getting older and we are faced with new problems, or we see known problems more frequently. This could be regarding to our blades or to the turbines. So the investors and the manufacturers need third-party companies, and this is also important for sustainability. And service and maintenance is also parallel to the third-party companies. So if we can maintain these turbines on a regular basis, we can work proactively and foreseeable. The machine works, so it will work also in the future. If this is your mentality, this leads to a shorter lifespan of this machine. So you have to maintain these technologies, these machines in their intervals, interrelative intervals. The material supply chain is, of course, very important for our efficiency. When we talk about efficiency, we don't mean only the longer span of a turbine, but also the availability of the turbines. This is also one of our parameters. If we have problems in our supply chain, for example, when a main component is broken, or you have a problem in your supply chain, this leads, of course, a very drastic change in your power generation. Technology and data analytics and artificial intelligence. When it comes to efficiency, these are the most important tools we have, and we as EXIM tend to use data analytics, and we are working also with consultancy companies from time to time to have some studies done. And also in-house, we build our performance management unit. For 1 year, we are trying to make data analysis more in-depth, and still work with consultancy companies. Because data is everything. Because when you look at the turbine, you see optically that the turbine is working, but if it's efficient or not, to find that out, you need data collection and artificial intelligence. I'm trying to hurry up my presentation here. So new generation technologies and robotic applications. So with the development of sensor technologies, with acoustical and ultrasonic sensors are in our daily lives now. And robotic applications where the robots go into the blade and make UTs there to look for capillary fractures. And this type of control helps us to prolong the lifetime of our turbines. Drone technologies and chemical applications are very important. When it comes to icing, for example, we have an icing problem. So we made research on global scale. We went to fairs abroad, and we found a solution to have a chemical application on the blades and the turbines. So when we're talking about technology, we don't speak only on one part of the problem. Technology is a whole. So national production and the repair production is very important. Oktay Bey talked about this, so that's why I'm skipping over. So lastly, recycling. So after the life cycle of the turbine has ended, this is not an immediate danger, but this will be an important topic in the near future, recycling of wind turbines. Thank you so much. I tried to go fast, so no, that is okay. We have the same topics: human resources, know-how, technology, and the near future which is awaiting us. To use our time more efficiently, I want to give Koray Bey and Ferit Bey the microphone, and then we will end this session here. So Ferit Bey has a very important subject of Nordex Academy, and we are again at human resources. So what is Nordex Academy? And Koray Bey will have the closing remarks and his ideas and his thoughts on Demirer Energy, and we will finish our session for today, this part. So Nordex Academy, we started with Nordex Academy 2014. This is when we had the first trainers, but officially we opened the academy 2017. So one of the training centers of Nordex is in Turkey. So 2021 we moved to a new location. We have simulators areas. We give trainings. So which components of the turbines are you training the people in? So the power electronics, converter systems, high voltage, medium voltage, transformer breakers, and we have gamma and delta 4K turbines. So all of these systems of these two turbines we have on our simulator. Our colleagues can have their basic training here and also advanced training. But we don't give this training not only to our in-house personnel, also to third parties or to third parties. This was a very important step in going in the direction of nationalization or localization. So the added value is the operations and maintenance. So because you want to use each and every kilowatt hour of the potential of the wind turbine. This is the goal. So 97 different types of trainings we can give here in the Nordex Academy, and more than 90% are giving in Turkish language, because to have an efficiency here, you need three main things. One of them is, like Halil Bey said, material and equipment. You have to be local. So time is here the most important performance criteria. And secondly is training, so you can use your human resources more efficiently. And thirdly is technical support. And this is one of the main subjects which were very problematic in Turkey. And you needed to have technical support from a team which services globally. So, and this we have a area where we have a very aggressive market, especially in Europe. So it was not possible for in Turkey to get technical support from abroad. And nowadays we are independently giving technical support in Turkey. So some services you give reactively, some services you give proactively, some proactive retrofitting or strengthening. These are things we are giving as a proactive service, and reactive is the standstills or changes of main components and when the machine is out of order. So to have a more efficient life cycle of a turbine is the cooperation between these two. So at the end of the life cycle, you have different alternatives. One of them is depowering, so switching to a new turbine type or change most of the components. This is more counts for more for USA. And lifetime extension is analysis and changing of some parts to increase the certification period. This is mostly done at the end of the life cycle or near the end of the life cycle of the turbine, but you can also do it beforehand. When you have, for example, a life expectancy for a turbine of 20 years, when you do it beforehand, these proactively and reactively maintenance, you can increase the lifetime of a turbine to 25 years. So at 14, we have a session for Nordex Academy where we talk about the academy in depth and in detail. So we will talk about the trainings there, and if you're interested, we are expecting you in this session for Nordex Academy. So Koray Bey, you have the last word. I have a lot of pressure from outside. They want us to finish up here. So human resources and know-how. You have reached a certain maturity, and you are directing or managing your team. So what would you like to add to this session? If you stay long enough in the industry, the human resources come to you automatically. So the security guy who worked at our power plant in 1998, his son is working as an engineer with us. Yes, so the human resources come back to you. Yes, because the child, the son, knows that his father was happy working with us, so he came to us. So the life cycle of the turbine starts with the type of turbine, so your selection. So you should select a company which provides turbines, and mean life cycle of a turbine should be 25 years. And each and every year, every company is producing bigger and more efficient turbines. So if you buy a refrigerator 20 years ago and you cannot find the spare parts for it now, it's not bad, because you can throw the refrigerator away because it's not expensive. But that is not the case for wind turbines. So you need to change some of the components. So that's why I said you should start at the beginning. So you have to foresee what will happen. So let me give you an example. When we started 1999 with Enercon turbines, and Enercon was established 1984. So it was a company 14 years old, and they said, we expect our turbines to work 20 years with an experience of 14 years. But they were wrong, because a turbine is 25 years old and still working. And the maintenance, except the maintenance of the turbines, you have 5 out of orders per year. So you have another turbine which is 7 years old, so relatively new generation, and there is only a difference between them of 17%. So the life cycle of wind turbines are limited by the big parts, and these are blades and the nozzle. The generators can be repaired part by part, so they don't deteriorate, so they don't break down. So we're always controlling, because we are looking for in the oil, for example, and look for the amount of the breakdowns or malfunctions, and there is only a 15 to 17% difference between new turbines. Yes, thank you for this part, disseminating the know-how and training human resources to help service and maintaining of these turbines. Thank you so much. We talked about a lot of things. You gave your contribution. We are a lot over our time. That's why we don't have time for questions. Maybe you can ask your questions outside in the lobby. And as a token of remembrance, we want to give you a small plaque, and we will have a family photo and end the session here. Thank you so much for your contribution and for your patience.
Teşekkür ederiz.